All right. So we're on the Indian of Sfiras Homer, and we're going to see a piece of the Zohar, which we started last week, but we only learned one part of it. We have to do the second part. Now we're on the right side. In front of you, you have two columns. On the left side it says Re'eh Mehemna. On the right side it says Zohar.
Which page is this? First page.
The first page. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Chia, Habu Azli B'Orcha. You have two Amoraim, that Tanoim, must say the Tanoim, they're walking on the road, and Rabbi Chia says to the other one, Ksiv, Usfartim Lechem Imachos HaShabbos. Start counting, the Sfiras Omer, after Shabbos, which means Pesach. From the time that you bring the korban Omer, that's the second day of Pesach, which is the first day of Chol HaMoed. Maiko Mairi. What is this pasuk talking about? We learned it already, we already established. So it says, I want to tell you something. There's some things which we did not discuss yet. Avoto chazi. You see that tof ches, to chazi? In the Gemara, you never have such a phrase. It's always toshma. You learn Gemara, Talmud Bavli, you always hear toshma, come and hear. In the Zohar and in the Talmud Yerushalmi, it says tochazi, come and see. Now why would you say that? What's the difference between toshma, come and hear, or tochazi? Well, there's the difference between listening and seeing. When you listen, you're only able to pick up what you hear, and when you see, you get a much broader picture. When you're lacking sight, you have to depend a lot on your imagination, but when you see it, now I get the picture. Now I get the picture. There's much more clarity in seeing. So it's very interesting that the Zohar and the Yerushalmi, they use the higher level. They say, come and see. We don't want you just to hear. I want you to see. I want to give you a greater grasp of the truth. Okay, what do I want to say? What? Yisrael kan hava b'Mitzrayim, hava b'Rishusa achra. Klal Yisrael was in Mitzrayim. They were under a spell of another domain. Vahavu achidon bisavusa. They were attached to Tumah. Bisavusa is Tumah. They were attached to Tumah. They were living in a country, in a domain of Tumah. And you cannot avoid it. No matter how much you enclose yourself, it's in the air. You're breathing it in. That's the way they were in Mitzrayim. Ki itisada kad hi yasva biyomedim esavusa. Comparing that to a woman who is in the middle of her menstrual flow. There's nothing that she can do to say that she doesn't want to be influenced by it. It's part of her. Basa dis gazru. However, after they did bris milah in Mitzrayim, it was the day before they did the korban Pesach. Alu bechulka kadisha. Now here's an interesting idea. He says they were engulfed in Tumah, but while being engulfed in Tumah, they entered a level of Kedusha. Kadisha, Chulka Kadisha. Dikri bris. They did the bris milah, and that made them enter Kedusha. In other words, while they are engulfed in Tumah, at the same time, they now embraced Kedusha. Very interesting. Usually they don't go together. They're living in an area of Tumah, and they entered into Kedusha. Kevan is Achdu. Next page, it should be your next page. Bey.
What is Tumah?
Huh?
What is tumah?
How would you define tumah?
Spiritual uncleanliness.
Impurity.
Impurity. Spiritual impurity.
Spiritual impurity.
Is impurity spiritual, isn't it?
Yes. Right. So at the same time that they were impure and they were breathing in this in society, at the same time they also embraced Kedusha. And what did that do? What was the effect of that? So the Zohar says, it's like a woman, pasuk mesavusa. What the effect of the kedusha was in the tumah, that let's call it the current oncoming tumah, the constant tumah, that stopped. That's what the effect of the kedusha was. The kedusha accomplished that the flow of the tumah should cease. Like the flow, the menstrual flow stops. While it's flowing, it's flowing. There's nothing you can do about it. It's part of you. But when it stops, all you have afterwards is the effect. But the tumor is not constantly coming. So what they were able to accomplish was that they now had a block of the tumor. Somehow it didn't continue to increase. What does it say of the woman when the flow stops? She counts the days, and she's now on the derech to Tara. Also, since they entered into this partial kedusha that they had by doing the bris milah, paska misavu minayu, the tumah stopped. But it doesn't say that after the tumah stopped that they are tahor. No. They still are not tahor. So they have the influence of the tumah, which is now ended, and the kedusha they have, but it doesn't bring them to Tara yet. From now on in is now going to be the counting towards Tahara, and therefore usfartem lachem. Start counting lachem. What does it say? Usfartem lachem. It says usfartem, count. What does it mean lachem? Just like it says by the Isha, v'sofrallah. She counts for herself. She counts. She has to count. Sofrallah. Lachem daika. Like the women said, Sofrallah shivas yamim le'atzma avhocha. Lachem le'atzmechem. You have to start counting also. V'lama. Why? Begin bizdaka b'mayan iloyin kadishin. You're counting so that you can reach the time where you're going to be purified by the holy upper waters. Ulabasar, and afterwards, lemeise le'eschabra be'malka. And after you have done that counting, and you will have that tahara, you will be able to be accepted by the king. Ulakabla oiraisa, and to receive the Torah. So receiving the Torah requires a process. The tumah must stop. You have to keep the kedusha, and then you have to have, after the tumah finishes, you have to have tahara. After you have that, then you can receive the Torah. Then you can meet the king and receive the Torah. Hasam v'sofrullah shivas yomim. There were 7 days. Hacha sheva shabbosos. 7 weeks. Amai sheva shabbosos. Why not also here also? Count 7 days. One woman counts 1 day, so the whole nation will count each one a day, 7 days. Begin the miskin lizdaka b'mayim dahunar. The nagid v'nafik v'ikre mayim chayim. V'hu nar sheva shabbosos nafik minei. So he tried to explain what's the difference between a woman who's counting 7 days or a nation that has to count 7. Why do we have to count 7 weeks and she has to count only 7 days? So to explain what the Zohar says, basically we have knowledge from other areas. Every day really is a composite of the other days also. There's no such thing as one day being a day by itself and not having a chelik of the other days also. I'll give you a proof, a raya. We have a siman in the Shulchan Aruch, and it's also brought down in Masechah Shabbos too. A person is in the midbar, lost complete track of time. Lost track of time, and he knows that he has to keep Shabbos. What's he going to do? He doesn't remember. He doesn't have a calendar. He doesn't have a smartphone. He doesn't have anything. All he has is himself and nature. So how is he going to know which day is Shabbos? What does he do? So we have a machlokas. Either you make one day Shabbos and then count down 6 days afterwards, or you do the other way. You count 6 days and then make the 7th day Shabbos. So the question is, according to both opinions, you can't just haphazardly choose a day and make it Shabbos. It's one out of 7 that you're right. You're probably wrong. What are you going to do? You're going to make it Shabbos. You're going to make kiddush, make brachas. It could be a bracha levatala, and it's not even Shabbos. And when the real Shabbos comes, you'll be doing your malacha like everybody else does. And so, what are you accomplishing? How can you do that? What's the logic behind it? The answer is that you're never going to be totally wrong. Any day that you pick, you'll be right. Why? Because every day of the week has parts of the other days too. And Shabbos is therefore somehow in all the other days as well. So you have to know how to work it halachically. You'll put on tefillin every single day, except for one day you won't put on tefillin. And that day you'll make Shabbos, and you won't be totally wrong, because Shabbos is in all of the other days of the week. But it's not only Shabbos. The other days of the week also have some kind of intermingling in the other days too. And therefore, every day is not only one day, every day is 7 days. And therefore, it's 7 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. Therefore, you have to have Sheva Shabbosos, 7 weeks. And one woman by herself, a private woman, has to have only 1 week, 7 days. Others want to say it differently. When we're talking about one person keeps 1 week. When you're talking about an entire nation, then it's got to be 7 weeks. It's not a individual counting. It's a national counting. And therefore it's got to be 7 times 7. That's all we have, 49. Okay, so we have 2 possible explanations. Both have truth to them. Fine. Now, to say it more Kabbalistically, what the Zohar says is the following. Where is this that we're going to get, as he said before, the upper holy waters? What does that mean? What does it mean, the upper holy waters? So that means the following. You have to remember, there's a tree. Let's think of it as a tree. The tree has the top of the tree, and then it has the center part of the tree, and then it has the bottom of the tree. The center part of the tree and the bottom of the tree have 7 branches. The top part of the tree has only 3 main branches. And that system of 3, they are the powerhouse for the 7 lower ones. They send out all the juice, all the sap goes through the top 3 and comes to the 7 branches, and they are like sort of children of the top 3. Now, the top 3 also have a hierarchy. You have the main commander in the middle, then you have the 2 sub-commanders, then you have the children. So it goes according to the Sfiros. Keser, Chochma, Bina. Keser is the crown, the chief commander. Then you have the father and the mother, so to speak. Chochma, Ubina. After the father and the mother, you have the 7 lower spheres, like 7 children. The children have direct contact with the mother. She gives birth to them. And she has to nurture them, and she has to service them. The father provides her with the energy to do it. Provides her with all the kalim, the vessels, the utensils, everything she needs, but she's the one who's disseminating all of that wonderful energy to her children. Yes.
When is dot used?
When is, excuse me?
Dot
Well,
versus ketchup.
all right, I'll answer the question afterwards because I don't want to distract from it, okay? Believe me, I'll ask you. Chanoch is asking a very important question. He's asking, there are 10 spheros, so if you count Keser, Chochma, Bina, that's 3, and then you have Chesed, Gvur, Teferes, 6, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, 9, and Malchus is the last one, is 10. Where's Das? Where's Das? We know that Das is very important. This whole area that we're sitting here now is based on Chochma, Bina, Das, Chabad. So Das is certainly part of the picture. What happened to Das? The answer is, just to be very, very bekitzer, it all depends on what level you're talking about. You're talking about something in very, very hard. This is the teretz of the Vilna Gaon. You're talking about something which is very, very high up, which has to come from the highest levels. Then we don't count Das. We count only Keser, Chochma, Bina. And then you go straight to the children. But we're not interested so much in the very higher ups. You're interested only in the major fuse box, but not the very higher up. Then you start Chochma, Bina, and Das, and the other 7 afterwards. Basically, that's it. Anyway, so the 7 lower ones are going to get their energy, their life force from who? They get Keser, Chochma, Bina. They get from Bina. Bina is that what we spoke about, the higher, upper, holy waters. She is the one that spreads it to her children. They come to her. When does that take place? After you count the 49 days. You have gone up all the way. Now you're coming close to Ima Eloi, to the upper Holy Mother. She's going to now bestow upon you that extra mikvah of water, the tal, that special tal. You're going to be purified. After you do that, then I can go further and we give you the Torah, and you can meet the Melech. He's all the way up on top. He's the Keser. That's what the Zohar is telling us right now. Okay, now back into the text. On the right side, the first word on the line is Vi'al. Vi'al, it's approximately in the middle of the right column, approximately in the middle, a little bit higher. Vi'al da, Sheva Shabbosos. Therefore, there are 7 weeks. Vadai begin the Miskibe, Kamor the Itisa, Dachyu Dila, just like the woman, when she has to purify herself, Belelia, at night she goes to the mikvah, so that she can have a union with her husband. Kach Siv, therefore, by Har Sinai it says, Uberedes hatal al hamachane laila. When they came to Har Sinai, it says, a tal, some kind of a dew, came down from the heavens on the machane. Now why did it have to say on the machane? We know we're talking about the Jews surrounding Har Sinai. What does it have to say it came on the machane? What is the point? Al ha-machane says, Ksiv v'lo ksiv, uberedes hatal laila. It doesn't say that the tal came down at night. We know where it came to. We're interested in the tal that came down in Australia. We're talking about the Jews who are coming to Har Sinai. Obviously, we're talking about the tal that came down there. Why did the Torah have to emphasize the word al ha-machane? El al ha-machane begin diyored mi'ahu nekuda al inan yomin. This kariyu machane. The 7 lower spheros, in other words, Am Yisrael, who is now identifying with the 7 lower spheros, and we're counting every single week, another one of the 7, another one of the 7, until we finish all 7. We are the machaneh. The 7 lower spheres are the machaneh. And that's what it says, it didn't just come down stam, any place in the world. It came down on those who were interested in being part of this purification process. You hear what I just said? On those who are interested in being part of the purification process. And here I'm going to tell you a very important piece of information. In a few lines, we're going to see, the Zohar says, I'm telling you to ahead of time because we started late today, I want to make sure we get to it. The Zohar says, a person who doesn't count Sfiras Omer, which many people think, come on, what is it? So I count, I don't count. Miss a day, don't miss a day. With a bracha, without a bracha, I'll count without a bracha, I'll count. But. Zohar says, a person doesn't count Sfiras Omer. He is not part of the purification process. And he cannot be samech on being part of the group. You're just not there. And the Zohar says, if that's the case, that person is really not ra'ui to receive the Torah. Because in order to receive the Torah must come to a, let's call it, a place, a space, an area, a condition that is conducive to hold the Torah. Torah is something which is kadosh, and kedusha has to be in a place of tahara. It cannot be in a place which is tameh. When you go into the street and you pass by, there's a place which is have a foul odor from animal excrement. You're not allowed to talk divrei Torah there. If you go into a sherutim, you can't have kedusha Torah in the sherutim. It's a place of tum'ah, therefore they don't go together. It must have tahara in order to be zochet the Torah. That's why the Svarim HaKadoshim stress how important it is to go to the mikveh. Men also. If men want to have real hatzlach in learning Torah, going to the mikveh is essential. Essential to go to the mikveh. Doesn't have to be necessarily every day, of course, but it's essential in order to real have hatzlach in Torah. It's essential to provide the proper environment for the Torah to be in. The person has that extra tahara, so it makes him much more able to absorb more. Yeah.
How often? Not every day.
Well, that's Erev Shabbos certainly. When you Shabbos, Erev Chagim certainly, and it's suggested that minimum 3 times a week. 3 times a week. Shouldn't go back. Shouldn't have 3 days without going to the mikveh. Or if one has relations, then certainly after relations one should go to the mikveh. And that's it. But those who are serious about it, they go daily. They go daily. They don't miss a day. Shabbos as well. Everything, every single day.
You're allowed to go Shabbos. You're permitted to go Shabbos to the mikveh?
There's a question about it, but
like having a
well, that's the question. What do you consider going to the mikveh? Do you consider it going to the mikveh a separate, let's call it this way, a separate value put onto it, or is it considered rechitza? I'm washing my body. I don't have to go and wash with soap and wet, but my body is getting washed. If you consider it rechitza, washing, it's a problem. It's a problem to go to a warm mikveh. Cold mikveh is much easier, but going to a warm mikveh is problematic halachically. There are some who agree, some who don't agree. But if you don't look at it that way, you give it a different value.
I'm talking about Shabbos.
Only on Shabbos. You give it a different value. You don't give it a value of rechitza. You give it a value of tvila, of tahara. Then it's okay. I can tell you personally, I went to the mikveh Shabbos morning, and I was in the mikveh together with Rav Shlomo Zalman Orlach here in Shari Chesed. And so if he went, I could go too. No problem. Anyway, and he wasn't there from the Kabbalists, the Hasidus. He was real Litvak, but he went to the mikveh. All right. Anyway, so the Zohar says, as we yes.
So what happens if someone doesn't count the Omer properly?
Oh,
but they follow all the blessings.
I'm getting to that. It's very important to remember this, and you can use it and take advantage of it. What does it mean? So the Zohar says in a few lines, we're going to read it inside. The Zohar says a person who doesn't count, who makes nothing of it. Come on, what is it, the counting? It's not counting, don't count. Come Shavuos, Kabbalas HaTorah, Seres HaDibros, I'm going to be there. I'm receiving the Torah, that's it. That's what he thinks. That's what he thinks. It's something which is very, very delicate, very, very holy, and you just don't get it because I'm there in the last minute. to get to the Torah and to have the Torah go into you, you have to provide the proper environment. The Torah requires tahara, purity. And there are many people who go to the mikveh in the morning before davening on Shavuos to be extra tahor right before Yasser Zadibros is read in Shul. Okay, anyway. So what do? The person was serious about it. He wanted to count. And, it happens. You forget, whatever it is. You got distracted. You missed a day. Is there anything you can do? Well, first of all, you can show your bad feeling about it and make sure the rest of the time you do count. And if you can't make the bracha anymore, get somebody else who's standing next to you, say it a little bit louder, ask him, be motzi me with the bracha. I can't make the bracha personally, but you're still making the bracha. Have me in mind when you make the bracha. Or you go to the shliach tzibur, who's counting out loud for everybody else. Tell him, have you in mind. I want to have the schus of the bracha too. So you can have the bracha for the rest of the time, even though you miss 24 hours. You can always have the bracha. There's always somebody who's going to make the bracha, who can be motzi you with the bracha, and you have it. But there's something even more fundamental. There is a shita that's brought down. And it says, listen to the pasuk what it says. Start counting then, and you finish when you finish the entire 49 days. Let's say you miss a day. So am I being Makayim what it says in the pasuk? The pasuk says I have to start then. But does it say in the pasuk that I have to count each day separately? Let's say I missed a day. The next day I want to count. I can't make the bracha anymore because of the way we paskin. Can't make the bracha. But I can say, and they advise this, say, yesterday was day number 2. And today is number 3, and then you count, hayom yom, shlosha yomim la'omer. But it means that you counted. So I didn't count it at the time that I was supposed to count, but I counted it. I'm showing that I want to count all the days. And every day is important to me. The fact that I was an onus yesterday, I missed a day, whatever happened, I'm sorry for it, and I'm going to count it anyway. A little bit late is better than not counting at all. So I'm counting it the next day, together with my counting today. And there's no reason why you can't do that for 2 days, for 3 days, for 4 days. You count, you say, on this day was day number 1, this day of the Omer, the next day of the week was that day of the Omer. You count all the days in succession, up to the day where you're up to, and then you go on 1 day at a time. So you will never miss any day. You counted all the days. You may not have counted them on time. You missed, but you counted all the days. So that's an eitzah, to show that you want to be part of Klal Yisrael. You want to provide the proper environment for the Torah. And therefore the counting is very important to you, and you are counting. Now why does the counting make you tahor? Why does it make you tahor? The answer is, we learned the kavanos here. It's not just saying the words. While you're saying the words, you have to have certain kavanot. When you say the Shem Hashem, Baruch Atah Hashem, that kavanah that you have at that time of adding another level of spiritual maturity, another level of kedusha, another level of tahara, that is what makes you tahor. The kavanah when you do the counting. When you say again at Sfiras HaOmer, also there's another kavanah. So it's the kavanahs at the time of the counting that gives you the tahara. Now if you haven't been educated, as most people in the world don't know anything about this at all, they just count and that's it, it's finished. How long does it take? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, half a minute, whatever. If you say beforehand the preparation, l'shem yichud kutsu b'richus chinte, and you say the vihi noam, so that gives you an automatic sort of a pass, as if you had the kavanas. So that's very important. You have to at least do that. say the Shem Yichud Kutchabrichu, and the pasuk V'hinoam Hashem Elokeinu Aleinu, etc. That gives you an automatic pass as if you had the Kabbalas. So that's always something that everybody can do. It's really a big pity in Litvish places, the Yeshivish places, not the Hasidish yeshivas, in the Litvish yeshivas, all they do is say the bracha and the yom and finished. That's it. Arachmon Yachzalonu, afterwards, that's it. I think they're missing the entire thing. It's a big chaval. Big chaval that they don't do that. I don't know, I mean, they're doing the mitzvah. Torah says count, so they count. But they're missing the whole, I would say, weight, the whole real value, and the richness of it all. It's not there at all.
There's also the shita that if you forget to count, you can count in the morning without a bracha.
Oh yes, of course.
And then continue with
Sure, of course. Yeah. That's a very important little thing to remember. I'm in charge, and in my shul, I count out loud after the last Kaddish in the morning, after Aleinu or Elokeinu, whatever it is. I say Hayom, whatever the sphere was. Say it out loud, what we counted last night, as a remembrance. The people who may have forgotten last night, now have a reminder to say it in the morning. Aside from that, repeating it again is also a reinforcement of the process of the Tahara, the preparation. It's a reinforcement. It's a strengthening of it. Even though you count it at night, you count again in the morning. Some people count at mincha too. Doesn't hurt. It's part of the mitzvah. Torah says to count. So who says I have to count only once? I can count twice, count 3 times. I'm doing what the Torah says. Count. Some people like to count more than once, so it's fine. Doing what the Torah says. You're not doing anything wrong at all. Okay. So we'll go back to the text now. The text in the middle of the page. It says there in the middle of the page, the first word on the line is machane. The word machane, a few lines below where we left off before, machane. It's right in the middle of that right column. Once the tal comes down, once the water comes down, so to speak, this purifying water comes down in the shamayim, you're now part of the machane, and umischaberes b'malka kedusha. Now you can have a union with the melech, with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. The emasai nachas hai tala. When did this tal come down? When does it come down? When? Kad karivu Yisrael letura de Sinai. When did it happen? When Klal Yisrael came close to Har Sinai. Kidein nachas hahu tala. Bishlimo. It came down in full force. That means we're getting this energy from Bina, from the Ima. She is the one who provides us with all of this wonderful energy which purifies us. Ve'atki. And now we have become purified. Ve'espaskas zuhamasa minayu. Listen to what he says here. Not only do we become purified and we provide the proper environment for the Torah, this is so powerful that the imperfection that exists in human beings from the chet of the Nachash at the beginning of creation ceases. There is no further death. There is no further death. The imperfection that the human being has because of the original sin ceases at Har Sinai. And that's what happened. At Har Sinai, they became perfect. Anybody who was sick, anybody who was maimed, anyone who had any physical imperfection, it was all healed. Everyone became a perfect looking, healthy human being. They could have lived forever. Because there was nothing to give them this death kiss, to take away the neshama. But somehow, did the chet of the egel, and it all came back again. Messed up the whole thing. Messed up the whole thing. Okay, that's another question. How did that happen? If they had no Yetzer Hara anymore, how did it happen? Okay, let's not get into that. Anyway, but he said that's what happened in Har Sinai. In Har Sinai, that imperfection in humanity ceased, and they were able to live forever. They were perfect, and then they have the perfect environment to receive the Torah. Perfect, nothing lacking. V'yischabru b'malka. They now had an attachment to the Melech, to Hashem. U'kneshes Yisrael. Now look at that. Ischabru b'malka u'kneshes Yisrael. The Jews at the foot of Har Sinai attached themselves to the Melech and to Kneshes Yisrael. What does that mean? What do you mean they attach themselves to the Melech and Kneshes Yisrael? Aren't we Kneshes Yisrael? What does it mean? The Jews at Har Sinai attach themselves to the Melech and Kneshes Yisrael. Very one word, but every word in the Zohar has to be analyzed and explained. And here I'm going to tell you something that we learned in the Baal Shem Tov. I don't remember if all of you were here at the time, but we learned it and we mentioned it from time to time, again and again. It's a very difficult thing for people to absorb, because we're so egocentric. We think of ourselves as independent human beings, and we have the privilege, the honor to come to shul every day. It says it on the paroches, it says on the Aron Kodesh, you're standing in front of the Shekhinah. But Shem Tov taught us time and time again. You have to realize it's not that way at all. It's only that way for people who are there at that stage in their mental development. That's where they're at. They think of themselves as a separate entity, and they come to Hashem and they address the Shekhinah. Well, Shem Tov told us, we, in a sense, are really part of the Shekhinah. It's a very dangerous situation to take that too far and not understand it well, because it changes if you understand it and digest it, it changes everything about your entire life. But Baal Shem Tov says again that we are part of the Shekhinah.
הנפש השנית בישראל,
Huh?
הנפש השנית בישראל היא חלק מאלוקה ממעל, ממש.
Yes, but you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful with it. I remember many years ago in the yeshiva there was to be a bacher who used to come to daven every Shabbos, and all of a sudden he stopped coming. So I inquired about him, and they told me he was in a car accident and he's recovering and so on and so forth. Could be. All right. I called up his mother, and his mother tells me he wasn't in any car accident. He was learning Zohar on his own without a teacher, without a Rebbe. And the concepts are so overwhelming sometimes, so mind-boggling, and you start to think about them and absorb them, and it changes your entire way of thinking, it changes your entire existence. And if you don't know how to handle it, if you haven't had a teacher to guide you, you really can go off. You can go off, and that's what happened to him. He went off and he became a Bissel. Yeah, Rechavia. These concepts are very, very dangerous. Be very, very careful with these concepts. The Zohar says here, such a concept. They became attached to the Melech and Knesset Yisrael. What does that mean? It means to see they became part. Knesset Yisrael is another nickname for the Shekhinah. The Jews in Mitzrayim were not roy for it at the time, but when they came to the Har Sinai and they reached this level of purity, they became part and parcel of the Shekhinah. And that changes your entire life. You're not just a separate individual who addresses the Shekhinah. Even though you're doing that, but you're also part of the Shekhinah. And you have to be very, very careful. You have to be very, very careful. Just think about that for a minute. You live in an apartment house. There are many people in the apartment house. You're on a ship. You're on a ship. Whatever you do is not only happening in your own little cabin. You're part of an entire ship. Whatever happens in your little cubbyhole that you have there, your little apartment, affects everybody on the ship. You can't say, well, I want to dig a hole in my floor because I want to have some water come up from the ocean. What do you mean you want to have some water come up from the ocean? You're going to all drown us all. Well, you can't do it. It's not only you alone. You live in an apartment house. You can't say what I do in my apartment is my business. Not such a thing. You have an aura which affects the entire building. Everyone is affected by what you do. That's exactly how you have to look at it this way. Whatever we do affects the entire population, the entire Shekhinah. It's very, very subtle, but it has an effect. It has an effect, and has an effect on the entire world. Take a look at what happened during the period before the Mabul. Vatishaches ha'aretz. The entire land, the entire globe became corrupted. How did that happen? Why the entire globe? Why did the land, why did the animals, why did the vegetation become corrupt? And it's changed its behavior. Animals were mating with other species that it's not their nature to mate with. Animals work by instinct, by their nature. Why were they all of a sudden mating with other species which were not their species? Why did that happen? The answer is why? Because when human beings constantly, over a long period of time, act immorally and do these kinds of weird things, it has an effect on the entire Bria. We're all part of it together. So therefore we have to realize we have a tremendous responsibility. We should never think of ourselves as separate individuals. What I do is my business. Nobody has to know. No one has to hear. It's my own private Dalet Amos. That's it. Doesn't make a difference. It's automatic. You cannot prevent it from giving off an aura of some kind. It happens automatically. And the closer the people are to you, the more they will feel it. Especially family members. Even if you want to hide it from them, it won't help. It won't help. It automatically goes over. How it works exactly, I don't know. But it automatically goes over. And I know it from personal experience in my own family. Things I tried to do, sometimes they wanted to hide it from other people. It didn't help at all. Later on, sometimes I saw they were doing similar things, the exact same things, without even knowing that I had done it. That's the way it is. It's something which is in the air, it's in the genes. I don't know how to explain it. Don't know. But this is what the Zohar is telling us. Klal Yisrael at that time became part of the Shekhinah. That means everything is interrelated. Interrelated. And therefore now they are able much more to be mokabel the Torah from the Melech. Because they're like part of the family. That's what happened at Har Sinai. And this is repeated every single year. Every single year. The same cycle happens every single year. History repeats itself. But again, if you want to be Zoche, to get that tremendous, tremendous energy that comes down, that's revealed on Shavuos, it requires the proper attitude, the proper preparation that we're going through now at this time. Extremely, extremely important. The efforts that you put in, that's what's going to be the result of what you get. That's the way it works. It's very subjective. It's very, very, it's not objective at all. It's totally subjective. The more effort you put in, the more kavod you give to it, the more you're going to benefit. And the less, well, unfortunately, you won't get what you could possibly have gotten. And there's tremendous amount to get. The Arizal says that if a person puts in the amount of energy he's supposed to and shows that he wants to stay up at night because he knows it's the night before Kabbalas HaTorah. How can I go to sleep? I know tomorrow morning Hashem's giving the Torah. The energies are going to be revived and relived again. How can I go to sleep? He says, you have a guarantee. You stay up night and you're serious and you learn. You don't waste your time talking and smoking and drinking and all these things. People take walks and sit down on the table by eating and drinking. Guarantees, the Arizal says, that you'll live out the rest of the year. If you take it seriously. That much he can tell you. You'll live out the rest of the year. Let's go. It's a wonderful thing. Plus all of the other brachos that are given at Kabbalas Torah. We see what was given in Kabbalas Torah. The zuama, the imperfection that human beings had because of the chet of Adam Rishon ceased. So something of that is given over also on Shavuos by day. And therefore I want to tell you, if you're in shul, I hope you'll be all in shul, at the time of Kabbalas Torah on the Seres HaDibros, it's a tremendous ace ratzon to be maspal for a refuah. That comes from Rav Elyashiv. Rav Elyashiv said that. He made it famous. At the 2 times a year it happens. Once when you read it in Parshas Yisro, when the year comes and you read a Sefer Dibros Parshas Yisro. Again you have it via Chanon. It's actually 3 times a year. And then you have it again on Shavuos when you have Kabbalas Torah. I guess that's probably the main time. And therefore is a time to really cash in and be mispal for a fool at that time, because that's what happened at Har Sinai. Everyone was healed. So that koach refuah is again available. Shavuos in the morning. Okay, I want to wish everybody a wonderful Lag BaOmer and a Shavuos Mitzvah Hashem. I think we have to do a little bit more. We didn't finish this piece yet, but today the time is up already. So Mitzvah Hashem, next Sunday, believe Neder, we'll go on with this piece of Zohar and hope to see you again. Kol Tov.